What should the state of Minnesota do if any city declares itself a city that is going to cover for immigrants, that is going to be a sanctuary city for immigrants? What should the state do?
Well, I think immediately what the state can do, and we had amendments and bills in the Senate to provide for this, if they are getting state aid through LGA, for example, that they shouldn't get the aid. It is not, I don't understand what the authority is of any city to pass a local ordinance to say we're not going to enforce the law. I don't understand that. And I think that if a city takes that position that they're not going to enforce law, that the state has an obligation to put pressure on them to do that. So I think immediately we can do things to begin to deny them the aid that they're getting until they do comply with the requirement to enforce the law. And I've heard the arguments. I think there's 3 cities or maybe 4 in the state that have these provisions. Their argument is, oh, well, that helps us with law enforcement. But I think it destroys the idea that laws are there to be applied to everyone and applied fairly. And it doesn't make any sense to have law enforcement people stop folks for violating traffic laws or other laws and not even bother to ask the common sense question about whether or not this person is a resident. And if they are not a resident, if they don't have any way to demonstrate that they are, then they ought to be turned over to the right authorities to do so. And I don't understand why we wouldn't want people to enforce that law.
Bill?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible, and that city councils have no authority to create a situation with the sanctuary cities. And the first thing we need to do is get rid of them. And let the police do their job. That's the way I feel. Because, you know, they're out in the front lines every day. And, you know, they're stopping people and they're checking people. And, you know, we've had situations, Marty had the situation in his district where people were killed by an illegal alien. What happens if a police officer were to stop that person and been able to check and found their status and were able to turn them over to the proper authorities and they were dealt with and sent back to their proper country? You know, we would have 4 people alive today. That's the responsibility of a local official to protect his citizenry, and they're not doing it. So we would get rid of it, and plain and simple.
Well, you know, it's easy to be the bully if you're the biggest guy on the block, but stopping people and infringing on their rights, if you know somebody has done something or there's probable cause, I mean, let's kind of not throw away the United States Constitution because you don't like the look of somebody. So I think you need to be real careful with that, and we need to protect the Constitution for everybody, and don't be a bully, because this is a country of immigrants, so be really careful about what you wish for, because it's liable to come true. I don't like the issue of illegal aliens. I think we need to protect the borders. I think we need to get on the businesses and let them know that if they hire these illegal aliens, they're going to be held responsible, because if there were no jobs, there would be no people coming for the sanctuary city. So people are out there pandering for the people that want to do the jobs that supposedly us folks don't want to do, but I don't believe that's really true. So be careful about what you wish for, because it's liable to come true.
Tom, what are you as governor going to propose to be done to cities that will become sanctuary cities?
Well, I think we got a couple already, and the thing that baffles me while I've been in the legislature is why our Attorney General won't enforce the laws. I mean, that's really the Attorney General's job, and for some reason the Attorney General is going to allow certain cities in this state to thumb their nose at the laws. You know, you want to destroy civil society, you start to lose respect for the laws. I think as a governor, what you do is you set out a path that we are going to enforce all immigration laws in the state of Minnesota. If you don't like the law, then you should go and get it changed. But in the meantime, as long as it's a law, we're going to enforce it. And if it's a federal law and the federal government's not enforcing it, we're doing for them as governor, I would send them a bill. I think we enforce it and we send the feds a bill if they're not going to enforce their own laws. But in the meantime, I think this is one of the changes that needs to happen in 2010. We need to get an Attorney General in this state that actually will enforce the laws and defend the citizens of the state of Minnesota as opposed to their own political.
I completely agree with Tom on this. These sanctuary cities are essentially picking and choosing which laws their police forces are going to enforce. This would be like if Chaska said, we're not going to enforce the prostitution and drug laws here anymore. I mean, that is the equivalent of what's happening. And they don't have the authority to do that. They need to be forced to do that. Or the state, who is responsible for public safety, needs to bring in their own sheriff or whatever and get that done. Because we cannot allow cities to pick and choose, and we cannot allow an attorney general to set up a situation where they are not enforcing our state laws.
Paul?
Well, the first thing I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to encourage Tom to run for Attorney General. I'm only kidding. I would do the same thing I've done for the last 3 years. I've been the chief author in the Minnesota House of Representatives of the bill to prohibit sanctuary cities here in the state of Minnesota. You know, we as Republicans, we as Americans have a history of welcoming people to our country who want to come here legally, who want to live and achieve the American dream, who want to learn English, who want to be a part of our society. But if they're going to do that, they need to come here in an orderly, lawful way. And if you're coming here and hiding in Minneapolis or St. Paul or Duluth or any of the other cities who think it's a good idea to allow illegal immigrants to fly under the radar, to me, that undermines our system of law, our system of rule. And we can't allow it to continue. So I would continue to advocate for what I have been advocating for the last 3 years.